Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
And so it was bound to happen eventually. After a 9-game winning streak that the Philadelphia Eagles were riding, they lose one in Seattle that they were favored to win. Many of us, including myself, thought they would win. Maybe this depleted Seattle team would not be able to handle this Philadelphia Eagles team, who, by the way, Seattle losing their last 2 games at home. But maybe it was a desperate situation, and Seattle outplayed the Philadelphia Eagles. You can obviously look at plays like the Carson Wentz fumble out of the end zone, the Alshon Jeffrey penalty when the Eagles were just about to score. You can look at these plays and just say to yourself, this wasn't the Eagles' day, unfortunately. And now they're in a must-win situation against the Rams this weekend in order to achieve home field advantage in the playoffs. They lose, they won't do that.
And now, here's Tyler Werner.
A good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome all to the Tyler Werner Show here. We've moved into the month of December. Philadelphia Eagles, like I said, it was bound to happen eventually. I didn't think it was going to be this week. I thought it was going to end up being next week against the LA Rams. But the Eagles lose in Seattle. I mean, you can look at it and say, yeah, it was a disappointing loss. We thought, at least most of us thought they were going to win in Seattle. We thought that their secondary was a little depleted. We've seen in recent weeks that they've been beatable in their own building, especially when the Washington Redskins can go up there and defeat the Seattle Seahawks. So we looked at this game. I looked at this game. I thought, why can't the Eagles go up there and continue to win as well and make it win number 10 on the season? Well, it didn't happen. They go up there. I, for one, thought in the first half it was too much dinking and dunking. They were not aggressive enough in their offensive game plan, I thought. They just inked Alshon Jeffrey to this big 4-year contract. All right, he's going to be an Eagle for the next several years by the look of it. That's all well and dandy. And I look at the way they're coming on the first half. They're taking the defense is, they're taking Zach Ertz out of the game. So Alshon Jeffrey, everybody else, single coverage. And I'm thinking, why are they not trying to make him more of a focal point? Why are they not gunning it to him? Why are they dinking and dunking? All right, they just inked him to this big deal. So make him a big deal in the game plan. They weren't doing that. It wasn't really until the second half where they were really starting to move the ball. And furthermore, that holding penalty or whatever out of Alshon Jeffrey when they're inside the 5, and you can't afford that. And I know with Carson Wentz fumbling the football, they couldn't afford that either when they were about a yard away. It's unfortunate. That's not going to happen every time. I understand it. It's certainly not something that happens every day. It's like this game was almost the perfect storm in a way. And I, for one, I mean, I wish, Torrey Smith was there. It's like he didn't notice the ball was out and he couldn't pounce on it or whatever. I don't know. I mean, last week we see Jay Ajayi fumble the ball, and Nelson Aguilar's, he's right there to cover it in for a touchdown. This week, it's like things didn't work that way, unfortunately. And that's not to take anything away from Seattle, from what Russell Wilson, who does what he does best. He improvises. He'll roll out. He'll switch to. He'll drop back like an extra 20 yards, buy him extra time. He'll find Doug Baldwin deep or whatever, or at very least he'll get out of trouble. He'll throw the ball away. And furthermore, he'll tire the defense out a little more than a regular quarterback would. That wouldn't be able to pull off the things that Russell Wilson does with his legs. And look, I thought for the most part, the defense hung in there. But the offense, a little disappointing this game, to say the least. This is one of these games. LeGarrette Blount, last week he had a great week against Chicago, but that was Chicago. Seattle's linebackers are very good. And their front seven in general. Even with this defense missing players, they held this Eagles offense that was averaging, around 30 points a game on the season. They minimized them to 1 touchdown. They pretty much controlled the game. Now, Carson Wentz, especially as the game went on, he got a lot of yards. 29 for 45. 348 yards. Again, a lot of this coming in the second half. The Eagles, maybe they made some adjustments. They got the ball moving. The running game was not very effective this game. That's something we're not used to seeing. LeGarrette Blount, it's like he got bottled up, as I was just saying. JJ, I would have liked to see him get more carries. Sooner or later, he's got to, he's got to have a game where he gets the ball 15 plus times, I think. I don't know if Blunt's going to be here next year. It's one of these things. Is Blunt going to fall off the cliff? Sometimes he gets to the line quickly. Sometimes he doesn't. It's hard. It's hard to analyze. But I think sooner or later, Jay Ajayi has kind of got to emerge as the primary running back. The guy who's the home run hitter of the running back core. Corey Clement's decent. He wasn't able to do much this game running the ball. Nelson Aguilar has a career-high game, 7 receptions, 141 yards, 1 touchdown. And it's unfortunate because Carson Wentz, he could have, Carson Wentz, he threw a couple high, a couple low. Carson Wentz did not have his best game here. I don't know if he was flustered early on what the Seattle defense was doing. The pressure was getting to him, that's for sure. They were missing left tackle Jason Peters for sure this game. But he was not at his best. And look, quarterbacks, they're going to miss throws. That's the bottom line. Even an MVP candidate like Carson Wentz, he didn't have his best game here in Seattle. He did make that insane throw where as he's getting tackled, he somehow heaves it 45, 50 yards for Nelson Aguilar, I believe, on the one play. That's insane. An insanely good throw somehow as he's getting tackled. But other than that, Carson Wentz, he didn't have his finest hour. That's for sure. You could see it. He was disappointed in himself at times. And really, to me, what this does, this sets up for a must-win, a bounce-back game for the Philadelphia Eagles against the Los Angeles Rams. Rams, they're coming off of a win here. Eagles, they're coming off of a loss. They're over at Anaheim, preparing for this game. To me, a must-win game in order to keep that chance alive of getting home field advantage. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the Minnesota Vikings are for real. They've now won 8 straight games. They just went down to Atlanta and beat Atlanta in their own building. And not that Atlanta's a great team, but it was the second game in a row for the Minnesota Vikings on the road. And what can you say other than they went and they beat a good team in their own building? They got the Panthers. Now, see, here's the thing with the Vikings. Obviously, sitting at 10-2 right now with the Philadelphia Eagles. They, in the last 3 weeks, all right, they've beaten the Rams a few weeks ago. Obviously, that was a biggie. They beat them convincingly 24-7 at Minnesota. The following week, they traveled on Thanksgiving. They defeated the Lions 30-23 on the road. They swept them, I believe, with that in mind. Lions, fighting for playoff hopes, wild card hopes. Vikings go beat them on the road. And then the next week, this past Sunday, they do something that no team's done in 2 years, and that was hold the Falcons to no touchdowns. And specifically, Matt Ryan, I think it was 30 games in a row he had where he threw at least one touchdown pass. I think it was the 7th best streak in NFL history for that. Vikings shut him down, beat him 14-9. Defensive matchup there. Vikings sit at 10-2. And now the Vikings are going into Carolina this week, a third straight road game. And history tells me, analytics, whatever, tells me that Panthers in a bit of a desperate situation here. Panthers coming off of a loss. Panthers win this game. I think the line right now is in favor of the Vikings at 2.5-point line, but to me, on the road, that's a little bit tougher to cover. I gotta think that the Panthers, now in a bit more of a desperate situation. Hey, look, the Seattle Seahawks are now 8-4. They're in this thing when it comes to the wild card picture. So they're going to want to, maybe fight to stay alive a little more. And I believe they got another matchup. Wait a minute. Now let me look at the Panthers' schedule here. I want to get this right. Because they just lost to the Saints this week. But they're going to want to do everything they can to hold on to a wild card spot. Because if the Falcons win, the Falcons are kind of right back in it. So I got to think that the Vikings here in this spot, if they're going to lose a game, which, look, there's still 4 games. I find it hard to believe they win all 4. Just like with the Philadelphia Eagles when they were on their 9-game winning streak, they weren't going to go 15-1, like we were saying. So I think the Vikings, they're in a spot this week where they lose 1. But they're for real. And if the Eagles do not get it done in LA this weekend, kiss home field advantage goodbye. Kiss those hopes goodbye. Because then what we're going to be looking at, the Eagles are at 10-3. The Rams will also be at 10-3. The Saints at that point may also be 10-3. And the Vikings, whether or not they lose this week, they'll be 10-3, but they hold a tiebreaker over the Philadelphia Eagles. As far as common opponents is concerned. The Eagles do not play the Vikings this year. They don't play each other. But as it stands right now, the Eagles hold the 2nd seed if the playoffs were to start today. So they got to finish a game better than the Vikings. The Eagles got to finish 14-2. And in order to do that, they obviously have to win out. They obviously have to win their next 4 games. Whether or not they do that, it's a bit tricky to tell. However, they beat this Rams team this week. They are on track to do that. They're right back on track. The Eagles have everything to prove against the Los Angeles Rams. They have everything to prove here on the road. And, you know, it frustrates me because I know some fraud Seattle Seahawks fans here in the Philadelphia area, for whatever reason. And by the way, they probably... No, not probably. I know that without using Google, they could not name 3 Seattle Seahawks players from before 2000 off the top of their head. They could, maybe not even one, for that matter. And they're spouting off how, oh, well, the Eagles, yep, they can't beat a good team. That proves it. They've been beaten up on bad teams. And look, they did beat the Carolina Panthers earlier in the season when they were rolling at a 4-1 record. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City when the Chiefs were rolling early on in the season. And they were defeating the New England Patriots. And they got off to a 5-0 record, okay? And we all see where the Chiefs are now. Where Andy Reid stands now. But the Philadelphia Eagles, they lost to Seattle in Seattle. It was a tough game, but that doesn't mean that they can't beat a good team. You can only play who's on the schedule, obviously. They beat Carolina, okay? In a primetime situation, in a good, well-fought game, the Eagles won that game. That was a big game. Carolina was 4-1 at the time. They were kind of rolling. Other than that, I'm sorry, but they haven't really had a good team to play until the Seattle game, and they lost that. But this is a small sample size, so I don't want to look at this game and think, oh, well, there you go. They can't beat a good team. See, if I want the Eagles, this is why the Eagles have everything to gain from winning this game against the Rams now. Not just home field advantage, but people doubting them while they're on the road. Oh, they can't beat a good team. Well, you know what? Here's your chance. Go out and shut them up. Go beat the Los Angeles Rams. You beat a good team, a team that's going to be right there in the mix. You beat them, boom, you're right on track. You're right back on track to maybe finish 14-2 on the season. You're going to finish up with the Giants. You're going to host the Raiders on Christmas night. Beat them, and then the Dallas Cowboys are going to come in here. They might be finished at that point. Maybe they'll be motivated to beat you. But come on, you're better than the Cowboys. I don't care. You can shut everybody up about, oh, well, when the Eagles came down to Dallas to play, they didn't have Ezekiel Elliott. Shut up. Shut them up last week of the season here in Philadelphia. Go take Ezekiel Elliott and stick it up there, you know what. All right? So there you go. That's 14-2. That's home field advantage. Vikings are going to lose one. They're going to. I think they're going to lose to the Panthers this week, and if it's not against the Panthers, they'll lose one more. All right, they'll get a slice of humble pie, kind of like the Philadelphia Eagles did. Might be to an inferior opponent, but they're not going to win out. There's an outside chance. So I hear that Aaron Rodgers could return. He's actually back on the practice field, but whether or not they're going to bring him out is up for debate. The Packers have an outside. I mean, they went out and finished 10-6 that very well may get them a wild card spot. They do have a tiebreaker over Seattle, who's right now got a potential to get a wild card spot. You figure Carolina might be one of them, but I have to look and see what the tiebreakers are. If Carolina ends up finishing 10-6, and same with Atlanta. Atlanta's 7-5 right now. If they finish 9-7, they're not going to make it. I think 10-6 gets a wild card spot. Right now, it's looking like Seattle and Carolina. Although again, depending how things finish off, Atlanta has a tiebreaker over Seattle. They finish with the same record. Atlanta gets the nod. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out down the stretch here. But all I know for the Philadelphia Eagles, for home field advantage, this is a must-win against the LA Rams. All right, they lost to Seattle. I thought they were going to lose to the Rams on this road trip. Now it's the other way around. They got a slice of humble pie, if you will, against Seattle. And now they realize, you know what, they're beatable. They got some things to fix. They got to come out stronger. They got to be a little more aggressive. It's going to be tough against this LA Rams team that's pretty solid overall, really. But you got to go into this game thinking, you got to go in there and you got to want to beat them. You want to take it to them. We're going to hear from Doug Peterson on the other side during this edition of the Tyler Werner Show, as we, want to hear from Doug Peterson, how this Eagles team responds to the loss, and some things Doug Peterson had to say upon his own calling of the game. It's the Tyler Werner Show. We will be right back after this.
Investigators are calling it the heist of the century. The grand robbery of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, committed by some apparently hungry NFL officials who love their balls.
When I came in Monday morning, I was shocked to learn of the news reports about the balls and the process that happened between when they were prepared and went to the officials and went to the game.
As shocked as Belichick was of the news, perhaps Brady, the last man out of the kitchen on that Sunday night, was even more shocked to hear of the news of the theft.
I have a process that I go through. It was the same process that I always go through. When I felt them, they were perfect. I mean, I wouldn't want anyone touching those. I would zip those things up and lock them away, and that's what I thought I was doing.
As Brady and Belichick up the ante on their ball security, you'll just have to pick up a pack of their meatballs the next time you hit the grocery store and enjoy just how perfect these balls really are.
Tom's personal preferences on his ball security are something that he can talk about in much better detail than I could possibly provide.
Hi there, I'm Hank Hill. Well, I'd like to tell you what Strickland can do to meet your energy needs. You see, at Strickland, the customer comes first. It's kind of interesting, the word customer begins with C-U. Well, we don't see you as just another sale, but as a member of our team. I thought you might enjoy 7.5 gallons of pure premium propane. Strickland Propane, the customer comes first.
And we're back on the Tyler Werner Show. Going to listen to Doug Peterson momentarily. Zach Ertz in concussion protocol. Ain't that just great? Yeah, this Seattle Seahawks, I mean, sometimes they just beat you up, even without the guys in the secondary that they're missing. And Russell Wilson with his legs, and just, I think towards the end of the game, that last touchdown drive for the Seattle, I mean, I think the Eagles, they were getting gassed, They're not, I mean, look, they got to Russell. Brandon Graham had a great game. I mean, he did sack and a half. and he was good as always. This Eagles team, they tackle well, but takes a toll sometimes on you. Russell Wilson, also an MVP candidate. I mean, right now, after this is a bit of a setback for the Eagles. So, I mean, I guess kind of, to me right now, I guess Brady kind of gets the nod, whether people like it or not.
To me, those balls are perfect.
For MVP right now. Still the best team in the league. I mean, come on. But Carson Wentz, the Philadelphia Eagles, they can get right back on track by beating the LA Rams in their own building this week. It's a tall task, but look, you got to look at this game. The Eagles have to look at this game and think, well, you know what? We were riding high. We had home field advantage. They just got punched in the mouth. And now the doubters are really out now. And if they don't get home field advantage, I mean, I look at this Eagles team, I think, well, you know what? They're probably no longer going to get to the Super Bowl. Because credit to the Vikings, they're for real. All right, they've won 8 straight. And, the last several weeks, as I've been looking at these schedules for the Saints and the Rams, the Eagles, the Vikings, these teams that have been towards the top of the mix, I've looked at these teams. I've looked at the Vikings and I've gone, oh, well, they might lose this game here, and they'll probably lose this game here. They'll probably finish 11-5. Not at this point. At this point, they finished 13-3. The way I look at things. And if the Eagles finish 13-3 also, they probably will only get them second seed with the common opponents. The advantage that the Vikings have in that department. So then you're looking at a much tougher game if the Eagles end up facing the Vikings. I mean, who's going to go to Minnesota and win? I don't know. But you flip the script, the Eagles get home field advantage. Who's going to go to Philadelphia and beat Philadelphia? The Saints, I think, have a chance. The Vikings, yeah, they have a chance too, but, they'll think defense travels. But at the same time, is Case Keenum going to be able to do enough in Philadelphia outside of the confines of their own arena to beat the Philadelphia Eagles? I mean, I don't know, when it comes playoff time, I think quarterback ability, that tends to play a major factor in how far your team goes. So unless Minnesota has home field advantage, I don't know. But Minnesota, they get home field advantage and they make it to the Super Bowl. They're like hosting the Super Bowl, for that matter, where the Super Bowl is going to be this year. So this is like a must-win for the Philadelphia Eagles in order to get home field advantage, to keep those hopes alive. They got something to prove here. It's like, you know what? No, we're not flimsy. Yeah, we lost to the Seahawks. We bounced back. We beat perhaps an even better Rams team in their own building. We're right back on track. That's what I want to see out of this Eagles team. Reestablish their identity on offense. Maybe they're not going to score 30 points to win this game, but they're going to do enough to win this game on offense. They're going to make plays. They're not going to make the same mistakes that they did. I was a little disappointed in the offensive game plan. They were too conservative. The secondary, they're banged up. Attack down the field with Carson Wentz. I wasn't, early on in the game, I wasn't happy with it. They took Zach Ertz away. Well, you got Alshon Jeffrey in single coverage. It's like they were dinking and dunking to Torrey Smith. And the Seahawks, they weren't having it. Wasn't doing much for the Eagles. There were some obvious spots in this game, which we'll hear from Doug Peterson elaborate on momentarily. A lot of 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 situations. And look, when it was 4th and short, Carson Wentz, he's so surefire at these QB sneaks. It's like it's automatic. And that's a good thing. But there were other times, like late in the second quarter, where they were trying to, I guess, draw the Seahawks offsides or whatever, and they ended up punting the ball. 18 seconds left. You know what I say? Try to, like, if you got to be able to trust your defense that if you're gonna you go for it and you don't make it, you got to be able to trust your defense that at midfield with only 18 seconds left, you got to trust that they're not going to let the Seahawks get a score there. You got to take it to them. You got to try to get in field goal range there, or who knows, even get within range of a quick touchdown. But Doug Peterson, the way they called it, a little too conservative, a little afraid, if you will. Early on in the game, there was a 4th and 1 situation where the Eagles were moving the ball and they were down 3-0, kind of in their own territory, and I look at that where they didn't go for it, where maybe they normally would go for it. But I look at that and I think I don't blame them for punting the ball there. Because if they don't get it, they don't get the first down. Seahawks in scoring range, a chance to go up 10-0. So I can understand that. Later in the game, I didn't even mention this yet, but quote unquote, the forward pass. One of the main themes coming out of this game. I looked at this play, and we'll hear an explanation from Doug Peterson. But shortly before that, I don't know, like these look, I haven't blamed the game on the refs or anything, but it still skeeves me that sometimes the officiating can just be this poor, where they'll miss a call on the Eagles. They'll make a call against but then they'll totally miss a block in the back or something on the same play or whatever. Or they'll look at this catch. I believe it was Torrey Smith on the reception. They'll look at it where clearly he has possession of the ball and feet down, forward progress beyond the first down marker. It's clear as day to me. But apparently it's not to these officials, and they don't get the first down. Even though it's clear as day. And it's like because the initial call was, it's like they can't, come on. The Eagles went and got the first down anyways, but still, that burned them a challenge. So then when this forward pass came along, it makes it like and I guess Doug Peterson will explain he doesn't necessarily have the resources or the input to, convince him he's got to throw the red challenge flag there and risk losing another timeout. Because then, even if the officials look at it, we don't see it. It's a good lateral. And I could just totally see that happening as well. And then me just sitting there watching this, like, what are they seeing here that nobody else is seeing? But, it is what it is. Let's hear from Doug Peterson on some of these matters. The game he called, again, a bit of a dose of humble pie, if you will. For the first time in a long time, with the Philadelphia Eagles losing here. Here's Doug Peterson, the Monday morning, day after press conference over on the West Coast in California.
All right, good afternoon.
Zach Ertz in the concussion protocol?
Yes.
Is he able to be out here for the week, or did he have to go back to Philly?
No, he can be here for the week, yes. Yeah.
Okay. Doug,
All right.
You talked last night about, and one of the players mentioned that you didn't think it was a great week of practice. What can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, we obviously we pride ourselves in our work and getting our work done during the week, and I feel strongly about you win games during the week, and sometimes sometimes things come up, and as a coach you're always maybe a little more nervous than you should be the way we practice, and I just think that the way probably the last couple of weeks, what you saw probably previously to the last 2 weeks, you didn't see the penalties, you didn't see the turnovers, you didn't see some of the negative things that have been going on, and to me that's a direct correlation to how we practice during the week. So that's what I mean by that, and we got to get that erased this week.
Doug, have you talked to the coaches and the guys responsible for the review as to the protocol and what exactly went wrong in not challenging, telling you to challenge?
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you a question. When you say what went wrong, what went wrong?
Well, do you think that was an illegal forward pass?
Well, like I said last night, watching it live, and then the information that I was gathered and getting, it was, and I'd already used a challenge in that quarter, and the risk of losing a timeout in those situations, I didn't feel it was at the right time for me to make that decision to challenge it again.
But how about the upside of getting the play overturned and them having the punt in that situation?
Well, now we're playing the hypothetical. If you throw it, it's sort of 50-50. It's kind of like, the third down call that I challenged, that we felt like we had a clear, and it was, cut and dried, that we were past the line to gain, and we didn't get that. And I got another play later in the game that was out of my control from a review standpoint that we didn't get, and now this was the third one we didn't get. So, things just didn't stack up great for us at that time, and I didn't want to risk another timeout.
Is that all a gut feel, or you go into a game thinking that if we're in this kind of situation and we've already lost one challenge, we don't want to give up the timeout? Do you go through those hypothetical situations before?
Well, those aren't hypothetical; those are real. Those are real-time decisions. There's nothing hypothetical about giving up a timeout. I either throw it or I don't. And so I have to make a real-time decision. I don't get the luxury of the television bringing out protractors and straight rulers and drawing lines like I guess they did and saying, oh, yeah, this is probably a forward pass. I don't get that luxury. I got to make it within 10 to 15 seconds of them running the next play. So at that time, I didn't feel like it was necessary to challenge it when we all felt like it wasn't going to be in our favor.
Who's watching that in the booth?
John Ferrari's up there with me, and Ryan Pagnetti's up there. So I got a couple of guys that are monitoring those situations for us. And
so it's direct communication. They're saying either challenge or don't challenge.
Yeah, we're getting whatever feed we can get. We of course on the sideline we don't get the luxury of replay. The big screen in the stadium doesn't hold any water for us, and yet sometimes you're only given what the network can give you at the time. So that's been our protocol. It's been a really good protocol for us this whole season.
All right, so there's some Doug Peterson from Monday, and in particular discussing that situation with the replay and them not being able to see. It's totally understandable. Like he was saying, they got a short window of time. They don't have the luxury of, especially Doug, of being able to see right then and there the protractors on the screen and whatever else he was saying, which I totally get. watching the lateral in real time as well, from my perspective, as well as probably many of us, is the illusion where the player was running that got the lateral and everything. There was like in real time. Yeah, to me it looked too like it was fine. It wasn't until they were showing replays of it where it's like, well, look at the trajectory of the ball here. And I don't know. I mean, to me, maybe that's something where again, like there has to be somebody that's watching and that can tell, like, look at this again, referees. And make sure, you know, and what do you see? Do you see that it's going forward and maybe the way the officials call it, it's like, oh, well, no, it looks fine to me, even though clearly the ball went forward, the trajectory of the ball. That's a whole other thing in of itself. But it's one of these things where if Doug's guys up in the booth watching it can't see it either initially or quickly, then I guess we can't put it on Doug that he as well can't see in that short span of time he has to throw the challenge flag that's something worth challenging. I don't know. And to make matters worse, you just lost a challenge that you should have won, by the way. But again, that's sometimes these stubborn officials, and I don't know what they're seeing, or any of us know what they're seeing. But you just burned a challenge there, unfortunately, and lost a timeout there. So it gets tricky, and time is working against you. And is it worth risking these timeouts that can really prove valuable for you down the stretch? Doug, he didn't have his best game here, that's for sure. They were caught off guard. But at this juncture, I don't know if anybody's going back to the whole, oh, well, Doug looking silly again, like he can't coach in this league or whatever. Many of us were saying way back. I thought for the most part, a lot of Doug's calls on these 4th and short situations I understood. But as I said earlier, the one late in the second quarter, I thought they should have gone for it and trusted the defense at midfield to hold Seattle's offense with just 18 seconds to go if they wouldn't have converted that 4th down. And furthermore, speaking of midfield again, it was disappointing when the Eagles they'd start with the ball at midfield and they weren't able to convert good field position into points early on. A lot of that was with this conservative play calling. It didn't get it done. It was an uphill battle pretty much the whole game. I want to see this Eagles team come out with a stronger attack, a more aggressive game plan early on. Go in there and take the lead. You know, control the game. Don't play into their hands early from the get-go. We'll be back on the other side. Discuss more on this right here on the Tyler Werner Show on the YouTube channel and Facebook page.
Attention parents. Is your under 18-year-old daughter being cyberstalked by a man who identifies themselves as a grown adult male?
I want to meet you and fool around. Are you up to meeting tonight, hon? I think I would like to shower with you. We can do it in the shower, too.
If so, you need to contact Chris Hansen and Company to bust these online cyberstalkers.
How are you tonight? Why don't you have a seat there and get comfortable for that? I guess you're going to tell me next that this is the very first time you've done something like this.
Chris Hansen and the Dateline crew will take care of it. Contact us, and we will put an end to the cyber stalking that your daughter is experiencing.
Well, there's something you got to know. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Busted! It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it or not. You can choose to panic about your situation or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting.
RELAX. Relax.
You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
And we're back on the Tyler Werner Show.
Oh, man.
Discussing all things Philadelphia Eagles and this big test that awaits for them. It'll be a very telling game how the Eagles respond to this loss this coming Sunday. 4:30 game, 4 o'clock game, whatever, give or take the time frame is for this one. And a chance for the Eagles to get back on track. Stick it to the doubters. And again, get back on the track to home field advantage, which I think is doable as long as you take care of business against the LA Rams this week. The Vikings, again, their schedule coming up. First of all, the Packers. They're at the Browns this week, and then they're at the Panthers. And then Christmas weekend, if you will, that's when the Vikings travel to Green Bay. So it's one of these things. I don't know if if they're going to bring them back soon or try to make a run here, or what they're going to try to do. Because at the Panthers, hosting the Vikings, and then at the Lions to finish things up is a tough uphill battle. Again, the Packers, they have to win 4 straight. They have to win out to even really have a chance of making the wild card spot. Probably the 6th seed. So I don't know what they're going to do. If they're going to bring them back against the Panthers or what. If they're going to try to make a run here or what. I don't know. But for the Vikings, again, at the Panthers this week, probably a loss. If they beat the Panthers, then it's like they're scary good. All right, I'll put it that way. So that's really what we're looking at here. Oh, it's just like slipped my mind, but there is a bit of a celebration in order here for the Philadelphia Flyers, who snapped their 10-game losing streak. Oh my God! Hallelujah! Praise the Lord. They defeated the Calgary Flames 5-2 on Monday. And this Wednesday night, they have the Edmonton Oilers. We'll see what happens. But they got off this schneid that was this massive losing streak. That was, again, it got to 10 games. And hopefully the Flyers can pick up the pieces a little bit now after this Monday win and get back on track, even though they're at the bottom of the division right now after suffering 10 straight losses. And meanwhile, the Sixers, disappointing loss to the Suns the other night. The Suns came into this game with an 8-16 record. And Sixers lose this one 115-101. That's just disappointing right there.
What's the matter with you?
Sixers, I would hope they bounce back in the next game against the Lakers. But the uncharacteristic loss against the Phoenix Suns Thursday night, couple nights off in a row. They'll host the Los Angeles Lakers at 8 p.m. So, and then Saturday, 8 o'clock at the Cavaliers. Going to be another tough matchup for them against the Cavaliers. So, but come on, against the Phoenix Suns, and they coughed that game. They frittered that game away. That's just absolutely disappointing when you lose a game like that to a much inferior team. All right, as we do on the Tyler Werner Show, towards the end of it, typically, we take a look around the NFL, outside of what the Eagles did. Top 5 thoughts around the NFL, as we usually do every week here on the Tyler Werner Show during the football season. As we're coming down the stretch, Week 13, breaking it down, top 5 thoughts around the NFL. Starting with number 5, ladies and gentlemen. The LA Rams bouncing back after a loss the previous week. Or maybe it was the other week ago to the Minnesota Vikings. But they go down to Arizona. Convincing win 32-16 against a Cardinals opponent that was, I guess, still fighting for something for the playoffs, but they're out of it at this point. Rams get the win 32-16. Big division win for them. Following that, how about the Baltimore Ravens, number 4, putting up a 44 spot on the Detroit Lions, blowing them out 44-20. Baltimore Ravens making a run here at a wild card spot. They're at 75 right now. They keep taking care of business. They'll certainly get a wild card spot in the playoffs this year. Following that, how about the New England Patriots going down to Buffalo, or from New England, I guess it kind of is going down to Buffalo. Buffalo Bills, again, fighting for a wild card spot. But the Patriots hold them to 3 points. Blow them out 23-3. Remember early in the season, this New England Patriots defense looked like a mess? Well, week after week now, they continue to play great defense. They hold the Bills to 3 points. And the Bills they fall to 6-6. New England, they keep rolling. What more can you say? Beat this division opponent in their own building by that much. And no days off! Yeah, this New England Patriots team just continues to win after a bit of a slow start to the season. Brady, he didn't even have to throw for a touchdown pass. I can kind of let Ryan Burkhead do that on the ground and whatever else. Number 2 thought around the NFL this week, to me, and this is where things get interesting here with these games. The New Orleans Saints beating the Carolina Panthers at New Orleans. A big division win here for the Saints that kind of reasserts them as the top team in that division, as both teams were tied record-wise this week. Saints win 31-21. Saints, again, making a crack here at winning that division this year. Still in the mix for a first-round bye, but with 3 losses and maybe another one on the horizon, that very well may be tough for them to do at this point. But nevertheless, a big win in the division. And I'll tell you what, that rookie running back, Alvin Kamara, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He is a touchdown machine this season. And of course, Mark Ingram Jr., 14 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown, a respectable game. They got quite a running game there. Michael Thomas, 5 receptions, 70 yards and a touchdown. certainly a contender right now. And finally, I've kind of already hinted at it. Number one thought around the NFL this week, it's the Minnesota Vikings winning their 8th straight, holding the Atlanta Falcons to 9 points, no touchdowns. First time they didn't score a touchdown in the game since 2015. The Vikings defense just continues to roll here as the Vikings get another big win here to move to 10-2, and they're certainly giving the Eagles a run for their money here for home field advantage in the NFC, and for that matter, home field advantage in the playoffs, because including the Super Bowl, because that's where the Super Bowl is going to be this year, Minnesota. So there you have it. That is Week 13 in the NFL top 5 thoughts around the league. Eagles got to pick up the pieces here. That was this loss to the Seattle Seahawks. And it's going to be a tough game, but I think they're going to come out. And look, defensively, Jared Goff, he's having a great season, but he's not quite Russell Wilson. And I don't know if you can say, other than maybe the Vikings, who the Rams lost to, I don't know how, see how this Rams defense, or how this Rams offense fares against this Eagles defense coming into town. Because, again, it's one thing if you're Russell Wilson, and you got this ability with your legs that is like almost unprecedented in a sense in the NFL. But Jared Goff, he's mobile, yeah, but he's not Russell Wilson with his legs. So I think one of the keys of this game is going to be the physicality of this front seven and this Eagles rotation of defensive linemen and linebackers getting to the quarterback, getting him unsettled, beating him up, taking him down for sacks, or even just rough, getting to him, getting the pressure to him, and getting knockdowns. Obviously, ones that are clean and not penalties or too late. I think that's going to be the key to this game. Showing that offense, for bottling up Todd Gurley, obviously, for one thing. Kind of getting him back on track a little bit with bottling up teams' run game week after week. It's going to be tougher to do that against Todd Gurley, but you at least minimize them a little bit compared to what other teams are usually able to do. And you get to Jared Goff, unlike a lot of other teams are able to do as well, or at least they're not able to do it as well as the Eagles should be able to do it this week. That's going to be the key here. This Eagles defense, quote-unquote, traveling. Like defense travels. Picking up the pieces, coming out, and setting the tone here. And the Eagles maybe reestablishing their run game a little bit. Again, get Jay Ajayi some more carries, I think. Maybe get him 15 more or whatever. Maybe save LeGarrette Blount a little bit more for down the road in the game when you want to pound the ball and just grind out this defense, this Rams defense. Wear them down. That's going to be the key there. Carson Wentz, he got this game of jitters maybe against the Seahawks out of his system. Another big game. This time, a little more crisp of a performance out of Carson Wentz. Not overthrowing his receivers, but making these throws. That's what I think we got to see here. Big game for the Eagles. Listen, they don't win this game, it's going to be disappointing. Because the Seattle Seahawks lost, okay. You lost to them. Now it's time to bounce back. Kind of flip the script a little bit. And win this game against the LA Rams. I'm going to look at this game, and I'm gonna go with like a 27-24 tight game. I don't think it's going to be real high scoring. I don't think it's going to be real low scoring. I think the Eagles take care of business here. Tough game, a must-win to keep home field advantage hopes alive. You know, the Rams, they bounced back when they hit their speed bump against the Vikings, lost to them. Why can't the Eagles do the same after losing to the Seahawks? Why shouldn't they? They have every reason to. They got to get back on track to get home field advantage and to stick it to the doubters that have been saying they can't beat a good team. They lost to a good team because, oh, well, they just played nothing but scrub teams all this time. They're beating up on bad teams. Well, you know what? It's your chance to go and beat a good team in their own building and get back on track to getting home field advantage. So that's where we're at here.
It sounds great.
And we're going to wrap things up on the Tyler Werner Show. We will see what happens. Out in L.A., the Eagles bounce back, win this game. All is well. If they don't, we're going to talk about it on the Tyler Werner Show. Probably be a little disappointed, to say the least. We'll talk to you next time on the Tyler Werner Show, right here on the YouTube channel and the Facebook page. Like it. And stay tuned for next time on the Tyler Werner Show.
Trust the process.